Good morning and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I'm Razzle11 and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. We're here to take a look at some pitching for today, the 29th of July. It is Wednesday and we do have a 5-game early slate with an 8-game main slate this evening. From my understanding, there's no weather to worry about at all, so we get to take pitching for what it is. And a reminder that this is a first look at the pitching options on the slate. And I will be looking at DraftKings as that is where the majority of my action is. If you play in FanDuel, cut my pool in half or so. Pricing isn't quite as tight. You don't have to be as creative. It allows you to get the stacks you want with an upper tier-ish pitcher. Now, this early slate, it's not technically my first look here. I've done the notes for the members of DFS Army. I'm starting to build out my CSV already. So we're going to get this together and get focused mostly on the main slate. This early slate for me, it's really a tale of two pitchers with Skubal and Luzardo. Luzardo has absolutely dominated the roster of the Marlins, and it's Skubal. It could be his last start in Detroit. So a lot of emotions or whatever going on in that stadium today. Being at home makes it even more interesting. The next tier of guys that I would say would be Trevor Rogers, who's looked pretty good after a pretty bad stretch during the season, and Detroit can struggle a lot against left-handed pitching. Rogers with 2 earned runs or fewer allowed in 7 straight starts and 8 out of his last 9. Very interesting. Kind of, I would guess, my third favorite pitcher. Fourth favorite pitcher might be Eduardo Rodriguez. He absolutely dominated Pittsburgh earlier this season. Pittsburgh can strike out plenty. They can struggle against left-handed pitching. I just don't really love the idea of having to rely on Eduardo Rodriguez. Walks have been up over the last month and a half. Strikeouts are still kind of low, even though his season high did come against this Pittsburgh squad. Then you have Trey Savage, who has not shown real upside for over 2 months. Does have 9 strikeouts in each of his last 2 starts, but 3 home runs allowed. The home runs allowed thing is an issue because Washington hits a bunch of them. But mid-90s pitch count, so we should be all right. There's K upside. I love that upside. I just hate the volatility in the matchup. Jerry Jones, obviously a ton of talent, ton of upside. These starts back-to-back, 29 and nearly 30. Really strong. One thing is Arizona doesn't strike out a whole lot. Around 21% against right-handed pitching, which is about 4% higher than they do against left-handed pitchers. Another concern with Jones is the pitch count thing. Coming off just his second appearance or start, throwing over 77 pitches. So there's a good chance that, he's basically limited to around 80, even if things go well. But super talented for sure. And there is a route for him to being, second or third highest scoring pitcher on the slate. It's just very tier level ask on the slate because we have the 2 at the top. We have this tier here of guys that could definitely get it done, in the 20 to 25 fantasy point range on this slate. But there's some question marks. Then you have a guy like Manaea who's kind of in his own tier. He's capable of a mid-20s. Struggled a lot against Atlanta the last time he faced them. Atlanta can struggle against left-handed pitching, though. Especially if Manaea is not giving up home runs. Just 1 run allowed in his last start against the Dodgers, but as you see, it was only 12.7 DK points, so there isn't a whole lot of upside with him. And then you got Smith Shawver, who making his return from the Tommy John that happened just 13 months ago. So based on how teams have been handling Tommy John, it's kind of a quicker turnaround. Racking up strikeouts in his 5 rehab starts, but just 17 and 2/3 innings. Those 5 walks have come in the last 10 and 2/3 innings. They were in the AAA. I was looking at that. 10 and 2/3 AAA innings, 5 walks. His longest outing is 4 1/3. From an inning standpoint, 77 pitches. So I would guess he's probably around 80, but I mean, I kind of like the Mets bats a little bit today. Uh, I think you could pass on Smith-Shawver at his price point, but I wanted to include him in my pool. I have zero interest in Gusto against Philadelphia, even though Philly does not have Schwarber. And Littell taking on the soft swinging Toronto, but Littell gives up a ton of home runs, so it's just not a spot I feel like going to. We shouldn't expect him to offer much for K upside either. Switching over to the main slate here. This is a true first look at the options, so let's just jump right in. Cleveland, Cincinnati. Cantillo's probably got to be in play. His recent starts haven't been great, but there's a lot of K upside in the matchup against Cincinnati for a left-handed pitcher. If you take out his last two starts, had basically been at between 20 and 35 fantasy points in 4 of his previous 5 starts. So strikeouts are going to be important if he can limit some walks as well. But I think Cantillo's got to be somebody I'm interested in. Was not interested in Singer yesterday when I thought he was pitching, so I'm definitely not going to be on him today. Game 2 of the Atlanta Mets doubleheader, you get yesterday's pitching matchup, Chris Sale and Christian Scott. Both guys are in play. Sale is certainly capable of being SP1 on this slate. Probably it's the second highest priced pitcher. Not going to be my favorite pitcher. Probably not even going to be my second favorite pitcher. I actually like the Mets bats a little against him yesterday to be a little different. I will be using Sale, but I do have some interest in those Mets, like I mentioned. Christian Scott had some struggles against this Atlanta squad when he faced them nearly 4 weeks ago. 2 starts ago was really dominant. He flashes all this upside, can struggle. You've kind of seen some of that out of like Nolan McLean as well. Like he can be dominant for 3-4 innings and then all of a sudden kind of hit a wall, walk a couple guys, maybe give up a home run or something, and things change. I'm interested in Scott because he has upside, but I understand it is a volatile spot. Yankees, White Sox. This is going to be my favorite pitching spot on the slate, I think. Davis Martin's looked pretty bad over the last month and a half, almost 2 months now. Kind of coming back down to earth. And while I can appreciate the regression towards the mean, the Yankees lineup has just struggled mightily, and add in that they've lost Bellinger as well. I think Davis Martin's very interesting for GPP upside. On the other side, Cam Schlittler coming off a dominant performance against the Phillies, and just going to Cam. All sorts of upside, obviously. His best starts of all basically come on the road. He's absolutely ridiculous on the road so far this season. ERA of 108, whip of 076 is ridiculously strong. Schlittler definitely going to be 1A or 1B for me on this slate. Kansas City, Minnesota. Joe Ryan conceivably could be making the last start for Minnesota. I don't think he's going to be. It does sound like they're planning to keep him. 1 bad start against Kansas City, 1 mediocre start. He's pitching at home where he's far better. I just think that the Kansas City lineup is so weak without Bobby Witt. I want to see a bounce back. He just gave up 6 home runs against Cleveland, of all teams, in his last start. Definitely think there's a bit of a bounce back. Getting some extra rest as well. Last pitch 9 days ago. That's back-to-back starts with some extra rest. Maybe that was an issue, but still, there's volatility. He had some blow-up games, but then he's had dominant games too. He's probably going to be my favorite, but he could be 1B behind Schlittler as well. Randy Dobnak taking on his former squad. I'm just not going to get there. He's looked decent, but there's not a lot of Ks. Just about as likely to walk a guy as he is to hit, to strike somebody out. Chicago, St. Louis, Matthew Boyd. Probably somebody I'm going to consider. I want to dig into what he's done, against the St. Louis squad. Allows far more base runners on the road, but just 1 home run allowed in 28 road innings. I think St. Louis's lineup has struggled enough of late that I think Matthew Boyd probably becomes somebody that we want to use. Dustin May on the other side, coming off of a pretty good start after a couple of not so great starts. I think he's going to be in play. You want to look at the weather in St. Louis for, hitting purposes. but he's far better when pitching at home, so luckily he gets to take on the Cubs at home. But the Cubs offense has done some damage in the series as well, so he's not some guarantee, but I do kind of like some upside from Dustin May. Angels and Houston, I'm not going to Grayson Rodriguez. I refuse to fall into that trap, even though one of his better performances this season, second best, ironically, did come against Houston. I'm going to pass. His home numbers are absolutely atrocious. ERA over 10, whip of over 2. Batters are hitting 350 off of him in LA. Wesneski going to be returning from the IL to make the start. You get 5 rehab starts in 20 innings, so he's built up to 80 pitches. He could be an 80, 85 pitch kind of guy coming back from Tommy John. An additional month in his return compared to Schmidt-Shawver. I need to dig into Wesneski and look at his rehab starts and get an idea. Obviously, the K matchup is there, but I still want to dig in and make sure I'm not getting too excited about potential K upside for him. Boston and the A's in Sacramento. Sandoval's looked good in 2 out of his 3 starts. Just from an actual pitching standpoint, not from a fantasy point standpoint. They are increasing him around 10 pitches per start, so we probably see him max at around 90 pitches, which is good. Not the best ballpark, but the A's lineup has been weak enough that I have to debate Sandoval. Boston has thrown 2 straight lefties at them in Peyton Tolle and Jake Bennett. I think that kind of hurts Sandoval a little bit. The A's get to see lefties multiple days in a row. That can only benefit the hitters, really. But still, I do want to debate Sandoval. I don't know that I'm going to get there, but I am going to debate him. On the other side, you get Jacob Lopez coming off a really solid start against the Twins. Strikeouts weren't really there. Walks were up, but he didn't allow a bunch of hits. Just 3 hits allowed over his last, 11 innings? That's pretty good. 11 strikeouts in those. I don't know if I want to get there. He's somebody that I've used, obviously last year quite a bit, but he's looked pretty bad most of this season. So I'm just going to debate it. I don't know that I'm going to get there. We might just have to pass on pitching in that game, which I guess isn't a bad thing since it's in Sacramento. Last game on the slate, Emerson Hancock and Eric Lauer. Eric Lauer against Seattle, probably not a bad idea. Seattle did get to Robleski with some home runs last night, so that's a worry. And Lauer does give up home runs. I might just pass on him because I don't know if he has enough upside for us, but I do like picking on Seattle. It's going to be something to think about. Again, probably a guy I pass on. Emerson Hancock, probably not getting there, but there's a lot of rumbling about him being available in trade discussions. So it could be his last start with Seattle. There's going to be a lot of eyes on this one. If Hancock fares really well against this Dodgers lineup, I think teams are going to look to acquire him. So definitely something to pay attention to. I just don't think I'm getting to Emerson Hancock on the road against the Dodgers. He's been far worse on the road. His underlying numbers aren't terrible, but 13 fantasy points per game on the road is not something we're super excited about when he's taking on the Dodgers. But there we have it. There's our first look at the pitching on the slate. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell, and get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. If you want to join us, get access to our coaches, tools, sheets, Discord, etc., there will be a link in the description below. You can use one of a handful of promo codes. Book, BOOK, gets you 20% off any package on the website. That's probably the best one right now. I'll list the other ones in the description. If you want to check out some of the merch that we do have, there's a link in the description as well. Check out my hoodie, some of the other designs. Hit the comments. Let me know who your number one is tonight. Is it Schlittler? Is it Sale? Is it Joe Ryan? Is it somebody else? As always, best of luck, everybody.